Greetings everyone. Here's another video from Information Systems. This video is going to focus on financial reports for budget officers. Right? If you are in a department and you manage the budget for that particular department, we want to talk about ways that you can look at your budget, your expenditures, and your available balances. There are a number of ways to do that in Banner 9. We'll focus on 2. FGI BDST is one way to look at your budget on the screen. So we'll see that I put in my organization, I put in the fund, as well as the chart of accounts. Now I'll do go, and this allows me to see my adjusted budget, my activity, right, the money that I've spent out of the budgets, and then my available balances, right? I can see that on the screen. If I prefer to drop that into an Excel spreadsheet or CSV file, I can go to Tools, and then I can hit Export, right? And that throws it into a CSV or Excel spreadsheet. I can then take that, and if I wanted to, I can do various calculations, like an auto sum for particular columns to see what my available balance is. Or if I wanted to total my expenditures, I could do an auto sum there as well. Or I could basically break this out into various numbers, into various accounts, right? To see what those totals are. But that is from a totals perspective, right? How about seeing the actual activity? So I can go from there and do FGRODTA to see the activity. Once again, that's FGRODTA. This does not print to the screen. This actually creates a report, right? So I'm going to put in the current fiscal year. I'm going to put in U for our chart of accounts, and then I'll put in my actual organization number, right? And I'm going to do 10 for my fund code. Then I'm going to start at the beginning of the fiscal year so I can get a good idea of what I've done up to today for year to date, beginning with the beginning of the fiscal year. All right, so that's running. I'll go to Relate. Now I want to review that output. I'll double click here for the file name, and then I'll double click here on the list report. All right, now I will click over so that I can see everything within my account, and it's showing me the actual activity, right? It's giving me the actual activity of the different accounts. So I can see here, if I come down to look at what I've actually spent with Illusion, what I've spent here for eVisions, and what we've done here I'm looking for something else, what I've done here for Constituo and my Holland contracts, right? So I can see what I've paid. It's giving me the actual activity. And if I wanted to, I could also take this file, put it in text format, and now I could save this as a PDF, or I could actually print this on the printer if I wanted to. And this gives me all of my activity, what makes up the expenditures that are coming out of my balances, right? So that's a quick look at running those reports in Banner 9. Now, many of you have done this in Banner Web. Well, as we know, Banner Web is going away. So we want to show you how to do reports using the new self-service for Banner 9, right? So as an employee or a budget officer, you'll go into WConnect. From WConnect, you will go to Banner Self-Service. The Banner Self-Service page will open up. Based on your roles, you will have multiple tabs appear. If you have access to finance, which I'm sure you do since you're looking at this video, you can click on the finance tab, which gives you some options. We want to focus on finance queries, right? Under this, we will have the opportunity to do reports. We'll get to favorites in a minute, but right now, let's do a new query to produce a report. We're just going to do this budget status, which is very similar to FGI BDST, right? I've already got in the U from our chart of accounts. This is necessary, as well as your organization and and fund. These are the three that you really need to fill out, right? You for the chart of account, your fund, and then your organization. Now we'll go down here to the bottom and we'll select the fiscal year as well as the fiscal period. I always use the last fiscal period in order to get year to date, right? So give me everything from the beginning till now. All right, so I'll put in 14, and this will save what you've done. So if you closed out and come back, it'll save what you did last. All right, so I'll check adopted budget, adjusted budget, year-to-date, encumbrance, commitments, and available balance. Those are the columns that I want to see in my output. I'll hit submit, and here we are. All right, so right away, just as you did on FGI BDST, we can see what our adopted and adjusted budget is. Then we can see what those expenditures are, and we can see the available balance. Right. Now, one of the things that I do like about using self-service to do this is that I can now come to this expenditure, right, out of materials and supplies. I can click on that and see exactly what made that up. So not only am I getting the budget status like FGI BDST, but I'm also getting the activity as I showed you on FGR ODTA. Right? So I'm getting both reports in one. Okay. Now, if I wanted to just capture these items, these expenditures in a spreadsheet, I could come over here to the right, the down arrow, and I can download it. Right? And notice over here, I'm getting a download. There it is, my budget transactions. Right? I can open it up, and there's my output. I can now do other calculations, or I could save this if I'm trying to keep a copy from month to month of my expenditures from a particular account or a particular fund. You know, I can now catalog this, save this in a file, or what have you. All right. I can even take this a step further. If I'm looking at the document code for the monitor courts, all right, I can take it a step further, and I should be able to see the documentation that is behind that. All right. So for that particular voucher number, I can then come down, and because I have access to everything, I'm seeing everything. You will not see all of this, right? But this is because my security access is wide open. So this gives you an opportunity to look at, right, the documents that are behind these particular expenditures. So that's budget status by account. And if there was a particular budget that I wanted to keep an eye on, say for instance, if I wanted to keep an eye on travel, right, I could actually save this, and I'll show you how to do this in a different way. So let's go back to my finance query, and let's go back to new query, and let's do a status by organizational hierarchy. And we'll once again fill out those same three parameters: U for chart, 10 for fund, your organization number. We'll scroll down and we'll do fiscal year, fiscal period of 14, so that I get year to date. I'm going to get rid of adopted budget. That way I can have fewer columns to look at. I'll do a submit, and you'll notice that it puts me at the top level of my budget, right? So here's this, here's my adjusted, year to date, and my available balance. I'll click in, and right now I want to look under general and administrative, so I'll click there, and I want to focus on my travel. So that's the one budget that's actually in good health. You'll notice we have health indicators here. The ones that are red, you're typically over budget. All right, so you'll see what my adjusted budget is, and you'll see what my current year to date is. Yeah, I could look at some things there. You'll see my commodities and my capital. They're getting close. All right, so I can keep a watch on those. As a matter of fact, if I click on 75, I'll click on that, and because I'm getting close here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to save this. All right, I'm going to save this, and actually I want to make it a favorite. So let's do a save as, and I'm going to say this is what equipment watch. All right, set as a favorite, save. All right, so I saved that as a favorite. We'll get back to that in a minute. All right, so I'm going back to my budget, and you can see that I can detail in on these particular items. And once again, I'm seeing the activity, and I can click on the activity and see what makes up that activity. Here's a payment to Aleutian, and then of course here's a item that I ordered, and we can click on that, and once again I can see the documentation that is behind that. All right, I should be able to see the invoice number as well as the purchase order, and maybe if a check was used, I could also find the check number here. All right, so that's everything behind that particular expenditure. And I can back out, and I can go back to the top level. All right, so that's budget status by organizational hierarchy. If I go back to my dashboard, if I go back up here to my finance query, my dashboard shows up, and now remember the equipment, I was getting close, right? And I saved it and I made it a favorite, equipment watch. So now every time I come back to finance, all right, I come into finance query, that report is going to be right there in my face for this particular account. So I can keep up with how much I have available. All right, if that's something I want to see quickly, I can see my travel, that hey, you know, this is what I have available. So I'm still doing pretty good there. Whereas under my contracts, yeah, we're close. We've got to keep an eye on this one. All right, if I wanted to share this out, I could by clicking the share query, and if I shared it out, the problem here is that it will share with everybody that has access to this, right? So I'm not going to share that out. If I have a lot of these saved, then I can pick how I want to sort these based on the budget number, or how I want to filter, right? And also if I wanted to view a particular document. Another way to view those documents under my finance is by going to view document. But we will cover that in another video. So that's financial reporting from both Banner 9 as well as the new Banner Self-Service. Hope you enjoy. Once again, if you have any questions, feel free to give us a call. Thank you. See you next time.